Okay, so this next one is Hate Mail by Radio Fury. So they are an Edinburgh-based funk punk band,
Hmm.
um, and they sent us their single Hate Mail with the tagline "It's Radio Fury time," which is a confident way to begin. Declan, the band's vocalist, sent us their debut single "Hate Mail," which is a furious punk song about the tabloid press and the wonderful impacts those guys are having on the world. That's pretty much taken word for word from the email. So straight away, this sounds right up our street. And I also like the way Declan signed off his email with "Come for the fury, stay for the dancing," which is
Yeah,
a nice touch. So Hate Mail is immediately very Rage Against the Machine esque.
definitely.
It's got that kind of funk rock, rap rock feel to the musicianship and the vocals, and a level of social awareness to the lyrics. I'd say the bass lines also have a bit of a Chili Peppers vibe, and that kind of funk bounce is ever present. There's definitely some like Tom Morello guitar shit going on there too, which is always cool to hear. Like there's some pretty cool guitar licks on here as well. There's a bit about it 1 minute 40 in that reminds me the Ghostbusters theme tune for some reason.
Yeah,
And then there's other moments where I found myself imagining if you put the right kind of guitar tone on it, it would sound a bit like Korn.
yeah.
Uh, and I suppose there were some, there are some elements of new metal, and especially with the rapped vocals, but it's definitely more on the kind of rockier, punkier side and closer to Rage Against the Machine than it is anything else. It's definitely not a Zebrahead.
No, it's funny. I mean, you've pretty much said verbatim what I've got here in front of me, man. Like, I don't know what I had it in my head. It was going to be like a hardcore punk band, post-hardcore punk band for some reason. I don't know why I thought that, but yeah, I was kind of pleasantly surprised, as you quite rightly said. I mean, I was instantly put in mind of early Chili Peppers, kind of circa
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
freaky styly kind of Catholic schoolgirls rule era. Definitely a bit of Rage Against the Machine in there as well, especially with regards to the kind of singer's vocals, who, as you quite rightly said, kind of almost like kind of talk raps, really kind of punchy punk rock riffs and licks in there. That kind of tonal change about the kind of 30-second mark definitely took on more of a kind of new metal vibe. And yeah, I've written here reminded me of the likes of Corn. I've got a feeling there was a bit of stylophone in there as well. Like I think towards the end, I was just like you mentioned, kind of Tom Morello guitar play. I was like, there's a bit that sounds like a stylophone. Do you know what I'm talking about?
What what's a
Do you know what?
stylophonic?
Well,
Is it like a
stylophone. Like, do you remember? Like,
it's like a
we would have been.
box?
It's like a box, but we would have been. I mean, it won't be that. I mean, if it is, kudos to them. Um, but we would have been probably too young to remember it. It was a bit before our time, but I just remember like Rolf Harris he was a big proponent of it. Like I don't know if it was his gig or if like he was just kind of rolled out to promote it, but I went searching for what they were, the name of what they were, and used to be able to get this. It's kind of like a box, maybe about that size, and it came with like a kind of pen, like a wee stylus. And I think like you can get them with like Rolf Harris's face on them.
Oh no.
Maybe not anymore, obviously.
Maybe not, no.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I did kind of feel as if it had a kind of real kind of did have a bit of a kind of demo DIY feel to it. You did kind of feel as if they were kind of in the room there with you. You know what I mean? Which is quite cool. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think it's cool to hear something sort of similar to Rage Against the Machine because they still feel like a very unique band, even like I don't know how many years
Almost
later, 30,
untouchable.
30 years later or whatever. And
Yeah.
the bass bounces, the guitar crunches, the drums kick, the vocal lines like support an empire built on lies and hate mail, your hatred drives the sales. They're all delivered quite convincingly. So
Absolutely.
it's quite refreshing to hear this kind of thing. It's interesting you mentioned sort of DIY production. I was thinking I would like a little bit more oomph from the production, but I mean, it's a debut single. It's when you look at it like that, it's really quite decent.
Oh, I don't think that takes anything away from the song. That was just the kind of
Hmm,
overall kind of vibe that I got.
yeah. Did you listen to their other single, False Faces?
I did, and again, it's funny that you mention Rage Against the Machine because it put me in mind of Bullet in the Head.
I mean, the chorus on that is like really, really rage.
Yeah,
And the intro is even more corn. Like the sort of guitars in the intro is even more corn, like really weird. I don't know what you like stringy. I don't know how you describe it, but it's very sort of what's the song where the bullet is like flying through the air and the
I
video
don't
is
know.
like
Yeah, yeah, it's Freaking Unleashed, is it not?
yeah, freaking Elise, like the sort of the opening guitars on this reminded me a little bit of that.
See, it's funny you say that because it was that bit that reminded me of Bullet in the Head. You know that kind of pulse and
Yeah,
electronic
yeah,
sound that it kind of opens with, and then the bass. The bass is great in both songs.
yeah, it's true.
Um, it sounds fantastic, and I think it was just the combination of those two that kind of put me in mind Bullet in the Head.
Yeah, the
Um,
on False Faces particularly, the sort of interplay between the guitars and the bass is really, really funky. Like really cool. So yeah, as far as Hate Mail goes, I think I would give that an 8 out of 10. I would say. I think it's a
that's
strong
yeah,
track.
I think that's fair to say, man. I would say that I preferred False Faces
Oh, did
to
you?
yeah, I did prefer False Faces to Hate Mail, but
There was
both are good
both
tracks.
are really good tracks. I think I preferred Hate Mail. There were a couple of like weird vocal bits like on False Faces I didn't quite like so much, but yeah, they're both really strong tracks. Yeah. So
Actually, I quite liked his vocal. It's funny because I preferred his vocal delivery in False Faces. I found like the repetition of the odd word here and there just at the end of kind of some of the verses. I found that like a really interesting kind of technique. I really quite enjoyed that. I found that really effective. I thought there was a real groove and kind of funky kick to the chorus that you couldn't help but kind of bang your head along to. The bridge section around the kind of, I think just before the kind of 2 minute marks, really sweet. I think it gave the guitarist and kind of the bassist a real opportunity to kind of showcase their musical prowess. I think it's that part started off really, really strong. It did lose a bit of its bite towards the end, but um, overall, yeah, I preferred False Faces to kind of Hate Mail, and I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see what these guys come out with, especially because they're such a new band. There isn't really all that much. Don't have really all that much of a what's the word you would use.
like an online presence or whatever.
Yeah, they don't have all that much of an online presence. I looked at their Facebook page and saw that they played Bannerman's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
recently.
okay,
I think maybe at
cool.
the start of February. And the stuff that they sent over to us, I think part of that was a video of them playing Bannerman's, and I think it's False Faces that they're playing actually.
Oh nice, I missed that. I need to go back and look at that. I think yeah, I think like a even an EP of this sort of thing would be really quite fun.
Yeah,
So I'd be interested in hearing that. Nice. Is it fair to say we came for the fury and stayed for the dancing then?
absolutely.
I was
It's
thinking of
but the thing is though, it's exciting. Like it's we've said this a few times about some of the bands we've covered, like See Starry, for example. Like it kind of makes it makes you excited for live music again, doesn't it?
yeah,
Like I would
yeah, it
love to
does.
see these guys in Bannerman's or fucking, I was going to say Pan's Labyrinth, Banshee's Labyrinth, somewhere like that. Like would
Aye.
be fantastic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was thinking to myself that that we came for the fury and stayed for the dancing would be like an amazing metalcore beatdown, like on like a metalcore song. They'd be like, "We came for the fury and stayed for the dancing," like I just
Yeah,
am.
even just a call and answer between the crowd would be quite cool, actually.
Yeah, I know that's never going to happen because they're not a metalcore
Well, you
band,
never know, man.
but you never know. They might pivot into the saturated genre of metalcore. Anyway, so yeah, Radio Fury, Radio Fury, Hate Mail, and indeed False Faces, both really good tracks. So make sure you check those out.
Provocation, spread fear and divide. Support an empire built on lies. Spin the wave and stop peddling your hate mail, hate mail. Your hatred drops the sales. Sticks and stones are getting old, but the words they never seem to leave it. Always faces false, faces false. Which one will ya get to see?
It's not finished. It's finished.